Hi, Debbie and Osman and Patty. I am being hybrid because I think I'm going to swap over to the land use committee at 7. So, and that's hybrid.
And that's
right?
not
That's
our
good.
link.
What?
That's not our link.
No, I know, but I
You
can
right.
go to the other. I have that link.
Yeah, okay.
But I didn't see an agenda for this meeting, nor did I see the link on the calendar for today's meeting, transportation.
I'll double check. There were two
Yeah.
emails. One had it.
Is there an agenda?
And then Vic would have it.
Is that mic on? Because I'm barely hearing you.
Oh, yeah, we gotta put that on. Perfect. Wait, face it to me so I can tell you. Just push it and then it should go on this, yeah. Hold it down.
We're on Jackson Avenue, do you live, John?
I'm
Right by Port Square,
on the right.
diner, you know, right
By
under,
Port-
under the L pointer, the new 5 Points building.
It's plugged in? Yeah, it's plugged in.
I used to live in Lebanon City, I used to live on 50th
Yep.
Avenue, what's
Nice.
the precinct?
I grew up on Long Island. My grandfather owned sold deli equipment, so like I was, was able to see the neighborhood as a kid. Right, he was over in
Okay, perfect.
Maspeth over in Bushwick, right? I don't even recognize.
I can hear them
Don't recognize anything.
very nicely.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was saying there was two emails. The first one did not have
Oh,
an agenda and the second one did.
so, well, I look on the calendar first. That is easy. Otherwise, I mean, I go back and have to do a real search to find it. Well, maybe I can go look for it right now. Hi there, Maya.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. Beautiful
So
day
you
out
had a
today.
birthday and you didn't invite me. You
Oh my
invited
God.
Nora.
Oh. Oh, well, you're welcome to come to the 90th.
I thought Nora was in my neighborhood. I thought you were in my neighborhood and I didn't know.
No, it wasn't in the neighborhood. It was out of the Queen's Botanical Garden.
When?
But that's out by in Flushing.
Yeah, but Nora was here on Roosevelt, at the restaurant here.
No,
La Fiore.
that wasn't mine. Maybe Anatole had a birthday also.
No, Nora Hunt was there also.
Nora was at, those birthdays, maybe, yeah, that's a group of the people from Rusk
Yeah.
that I knew via my husband and so on. And so
Mhm.
one of those I missed actually, but yes, they did have one for me. That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, well, next time.
Oh, you were like a couple of blocks away, 3 blocks from where I
Oh,
live.
yeah, we went to La Flore.
Yeah, La
Right.
Flore.
Oh my gosh. That would have been such an ideal thing to do. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't think.
Yeah.
All right. Next time you'll be the special guest and do that.
Yeah. No, just stop by, say hello.
Yeah, well, it would have been nice.
I
Really,
like
really nice.
Nora.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I was dealing with them since I came in 41 years ago.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
But you never knew my husband down at Rusk, did you?
What did he do?
He did a lot of motor function. He had something they called the motor and behavioral whatever. He mostly got young kids and get them in things like a parachutist harness
Oh,
and have
okay.
them on a treadmill and stuff like that.
Like at the physical therapy?
It was well, kind of. He's a psychologist like me, but it was you know, he was very how can I say, very independent. And very,
Yeah, I worked with Dr. Ann, Alice, Nora,
yeah, yeah,
were my group, yeah.
yeah, no, Dr. On, I had an EMG from Dr. On. And
He was a great doctor. Yeah.
yes, indeed, he was a good guy.
They're putting so much demand on the
Mhm.
you know, there on the staff. They want to see so many, they want them to see
Yeah,
big amount of patients and whatever.
Is he here? He's not here?
where did you get your adapted van? Who did you work with for that?
You mean training, driving, or?
Well, yeah, to actually prescribe the van and
Oh,
Good evening to everybody on Zoom. Hello, this is.
another time.
Hi, good evening.
Hello.
We got Ryan, Jonathan, and Maya. How are you?
good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Jamie, I see you there.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
good. Lovely to see you all. The assembly members should be on shortly.
Okay, thank you. Let me know. All right, so I want to welcome everybody to the June 3rd Transportation Committee Queens CB2 meeting. My name is Riley Owens. I'm the chair of this committee, and I welcome all members and all public people of the public. We have DOT with us tonight, Joe Patty. I'm joined by Debbie Markov Kleiner and Mary Ann Bruno, who work in this office. Yeah, run this office. Is anybody here for public comment? All right. I have Assembly Member Stephen Raga here, and he is on a short time frame, so he may go first if he's ready, but if not, I'll hear some public comment.
Let me ping him because he's not yet joined.
Okay, maybe we'll do some quick public comment. It'll take a few minutes, couple minutes. All right. Who'd like to go first?
Or you want to do the timer?
Sure.
You mind?
All right, public comment is 1 minute. We've had some that go longer, but we are kind of short tonight because we have another meeting right after this. I know. Would you like to go first?
This gentleman raised his hand, so that's fine.
Oh, well, I was pointing to you, actually, please.
Oh, you were, okay. First of all, I have to apologize because I don't do politically correct. I'm beyond that age, okay? I say what I gotta say and it's not to be insulting to anybody.
All right.
Okay, I'm prefacing my comments with questions.
Can I ask your name first?
Marilyn Walsh, it's on the sheet.
Okay, thank you.
Firstly, I'd like to know, is there any Department of Transportation, are you familiar with the benefits that the MTA workers get? I would presume you are.
No, they're a separate agency. so
Separate agency.
I'm not aware.
Okay, to the best of my knowledge and the little that it is, I'm under the impression that department MTA employees ride the subway and buses for free. And I don't know if I'm correct, but not correct.
I feel like I've heard that, but I could not tell you.
Okay. Then I'm under the impression that once we turn 65, and I don't mean we collectively, we were entitled to half fare to ride the subways and buses and any entities that are associated with
Just gonna put
MTA.
1 minute, so
Yes.
please try to. We're limited to 1 minute
Well,
today.
you're limited to 1 minute. I'm sorry. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
It's 1 minute of public comment, so you ask a question if you want or whatever. It's only 1 minute of speaking per person for public comment. We have a full agenda.
Why do the seniors and disabled that ride Access-a-Ride pay full fare? When we're supposed to be getting half fare for seniors and people that have disabilities? Why are we singled out and expected to pay a full fare? Many of whom are disabled permanently, and many of whom are seniors living on a fixed income. When people that are making $50,000 and $60,000 and $70,000 a year as a perk are riding for free on the backs of the people that cannot afford this, okay? They're working, they're making a salary like every other person in the world. You have to pay to go back and forth to work.
Okay.
If this is one of their perks, These were fine in the years when the MTA did not have the same pay as private industry, okay? But as in all industry, construction being one of the main ones, because they were so highly paid, okay? They've given back their health insurance that was paid 100% by the employer. Why has not MTA workers, as they've increased with their benefits, been required to give back some of their benefits? But they put a $9 congestion pricing fee in effect to help the MTA because their budget is so out of whack.
Okay, I'm gonna end that there. Thank you so much for the comments. The assembly member or his, somebody from his office is listening right now.
Oh,
So,
okay, cool.
they are the ones who work with the MTA because it's a state agency. But if you send an email to us, we'll try
I
to
don't
get,
do email, honey.
Oh.
I'm a phone person.
okay,
Okay, I said, that's why I prefaced my,
we'll do our best. I don't have the answers to all of these questions, unfortunately. And, if you remain in contact with us and stuff like-
absolutely.
Yeah, you can call the
Absolutely.
office here. And we'll take those comments and we'll ask the appropriate people about, and the ask is for half fare on accessory.
Absolutely. It's part of the MTA transportation system
Okay,
who provides half fare for seniors and disabled people.
all right. Thank you so much for your comment. Thanks for coming in. Thank you.
So I can go home
Welcome.
now? Or can I get
You can
extra
stay, you
minutes
can go
and
if you want.
extra time?
If-
at-
So sorry, if someone's able just to grab their address so I can make sure they're in our district rather than Valdez or another rep. And also happy to look into the bill. We do have a bill to improve accessory ride. I'm sure the assembly member would be happy to see if there isn't one already proposed in regards to the half fare rate program.
There shouldn't be a bill. If it's a law for already 10 years, why have we been excluded?
Yeah,
Why-
we can
Why
double.
have we been discriminated against? Everybody loves to use that word.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me just look into that. Let's, if we have your address verified, we can file a case for you as well. But I want to make sure that you live in Assemblymember Raga's district and not another assembly member.
She's on 39th Drive. We'll email it to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
thank you so much. We can get those answers for you.
Yeah, and whom was
So
that?
that was Jamie from Assembly Member Stephen Raga's office.
Oh,
Stephen
the
Raga,
gentleman that's going to speak tonight?
just in just
Okay.
a moment, yeah. He represents mainly Woodside, whereas if you're in the Sunnyside area, that might be Clear Valdez. But we have your address, so we can figure that out. We can touch with you. All right, thank you, and I'm gonna ask you, sir.
All right, so first wanted to say thank you for everyone's work here and also, living in Long Island City, I see all the work you're doing and a lot of it is genuinely like world class. So, like really a great job. I'm here. I would love an update on what's going on at Jackson and 46th Avenue by MoMA, 5 Points, Trader Joe's. I submitted a pretty detailed email to Julie Wan's office in 2023. Stating that it was already too late for some sort of traffic signal to be installed at that intersection. I actually have a video of within a 7-minute period, I've got 12 people jaywalking there because there's no easily, accessible crosswalk. You go, 2 minutes out of the way and stand under the 7. It's a nightmare. So I do know that it was approved and that the completion is supposed to be spring 2025. I don't see any shovels in the ground. That has me a little concerned. Second, beyond the stoplight, what other improvements are planned as a part of that project? I know pedestrian plaza improvements are there, but it's not going to be solved just with a stoplight. There is a ton of double parking because of the Trader Joe's, and 5 Points has 1,100 units in it, and there's no loading zone. So what other traffic improvements are planned there? And 3, I would like to know what the community is doing as far as outreach. I've been in touch with Julie Wan's office. She's been okay with this issue, but I mean, I actually just sent her office a petition with 144 people on it to get a stoplight when I didn't even know it was approved already, and there was no way for me to find this out. So what are you doing as far as outreach?
Okay, thank you. Joe, do you know that? Rita?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there is plenty that's coming for that area, by the way. But yes, you're right. This bill is approved, and it is just dependent on any kind of future signal contract we have. So I'd have to check in internally to see when that would be installed because there would be a lot of like underground work that would have to get, done to the conduits for it. So I'll look into that myself. And in terms of other improvements, that plaza was actually a candidate for like DRI funding from the state. That's something we applied for, and that's something that I believe we were approved for the
It was-
buildings.
was approved, yeah.
Yeah, a few $1 million actually
Mhm.
to reconstruct that plaza, make it more permanent. So there's gonna be plenty of improvements to the years to come. And also I know at a recent Long Island City rezoning meeting, Moment PS1 stated that they're gonna, take down the wall and, expand the public space to kind of make it one large area. So that's a lot of the improvements that we're gonna see happen within the years to come there. So
Okay.
as for the actual timeline, I'm not sure where
Yeah.
spring came from for the installation date, but I'll have to look into see what's actually.
Sure,
Yeah.
and just to confirm, really my concern isn't the area in front of MoMA, that's actually pretty quiet.
Yeah.
It's the, Trader Joe's, catty corner
Mhm.
to it, and also the Five Points building, right? There's literally usually 3 cars double parked in front of a hydrant, because there's no loading zone. So, is the project, as far as changes to the street concerned, limited to the stoplight, or will there be other changes to the, parking and or loading zones, in the immediate vicinity?
Well, those are all things that can happen separately from each other.
Yeah.
Like the signal happens separately from the plaza reconstruction, so they're not all stuck on the same timeline. And we can do a loading zone even sooner than anything else.
Yeah.
If that's something like we want to explore.
Okay.
So that could be done in a quick study, like to see if it's something that we could solve. So those are all separate, like.
Sure, so, and how can I best follow up on that?
We can make a request directly with DOT if you want to like see a loading zone there. I can give you my office information, or like we can,
Yeah.
do it through the board office.
Sure.
So.
Outreach would be great too, because I just feel like I've been in the dark and I've been really trying to push this, so,
Yeah.
just generally, what do you do for outreach?
Yeah, I think DOT, I don't know, I think that might be a DOT thing, to do the outreach on that. It's not something that we would push out because it's not, doesn't sound like it's moving very quickly.
Sure.
Yeah, outreach for like the positives specifically, or
I mean, even for the stoplight, because a lot of the comments that I've said, right, I've got 144 people on a petition that all would have said the same things that I did.
Yeah.
Right, and all the other general, so just, it'd be nice if I saw at one point a flyer that said, hey, we're putting in a stoplight. Does anyone else have any feelings about this? Would have been awesome.
that's the, and whenever we have any kind of like always stop approvals or signal approvals, we share that with the board and with all the elected officials of the area. So if there's anything we need to change with that, I can, definitely see what needs to be done.
Thank you, and you can always contact us at the office, if you're having trouble finding out any news on that. I'll put it on our agenda, just to keep an eye out on it. Sounds like it's a project that's long been cooking. And I think the council member's office will be helping out.
Great, I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming and putting that on my radar. All right, I'm just gonna check in with Jamie to see, if you're ready.
Yeah, so sorry. I'm not sure what's going on, but happy to present in his place. I've been pinging him. Or if there's other agenda items, happy to have him at the end.
Yeah, if you want to hang out for now and just let me know if anything changes, I'll just keep going through public comment.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Mercedes Jennings, welcome. I see your hand up.
Hey everyone, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so again, I just wanted to mention the gentleman that just spoke about the he said he had a petition, and it was if he wants other assistance, like because I work with the state senator's office and Michael Generis, our office could follow up with DOT as well. So I'll put my email in the chat, or if he wants my email information, I don't know if he could see my chat through this way, or I know it's the best way to give him my contact
I'll find
information.
it. I got a picture.
And you have my email also. Just make sure he receives that and he could send it to us, and we could also follow up with DOT. So I just wanted to mention one more time, because I know I was at the last meeting, and I just wanted to follow up because our office has been talking with both DOT as well as the MTA concerning the redesign for busing. The issue with the Q32 also has been brought to our attention. And I think you've also been in the emails about what's going on in Woodside with the Q18 stop on 51st Street. So I just want to reiterate, the MTA actually responded to one of the constituents that has been consistently, stating why the stop for the Q32 on Roosevelt and 56 needs to be reinstated. The response wasn't very positive, unfortunately. It just seemed like there was other ways to give her commutes when it didn't take into consideration the health issues as well as the disabilities of many of the residents in that area that rely on the Q32. So just wanted to put that on all of your radar, and again, ask for your support. Our office is continuing to work with the MTA as well as DOT, but just wanted to let you know that I will forward you the response by email so you could see like exactly how the response was. But there's a lot of misunderstanding about how the streets are in Queens, I feel, and also just kind of like how people are able to navigate using the buses, especially if they're elderly or if they have disabilities. So I just wanted to again reiterate that in relation to these two situations as it pertains to the Q32 as well as the Q18 stop.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. And I think it's unfortunate that both those stops that we got mailed about were things that were changed in the final addendum, which didn't have a lot of public input or outreach. leading up.
Right, and not to interrupt you, but to support what you're saying, the concern also was a lot of if they did do output was done virtually, which, as you know, many of our seniors and our elderly don't necessarily use that kind of motor method to participate, especially in local politics. They usually are the ones to come in person and be very vocal and verbal about what's going on in their community. And that opportunity was not given to many of them. And those are the ones that we've been getting a lot of emails from. We also received a letter from the actual the pastor from St. Sebastian's Church, which was and the Archdiocese is aware of this matter, so they really are trying to support the petitioners that go to their church and the local community. So we've been receiving that as well.
Thank you very much. I think Roz has a question maybe.
Yeah, thank you. I heard at Claire Valdez's town hall last night, there were a number of people who seemed to be concerned about 39th Avenue or 39th Street and Queens Boulevard and the location of the bus stop there. And particularly, it sounded like instead of having it on the same side of the street as Sunnyside Community Services, it was going to be across the street, maybe by that new car dealership, ironically. They don't need bus stops there, but I don't know much about it, but I just want to add it into the to-do list or whatever, unless you're already aware of it.
We've had complaints on that as well, Roz. And Sunnyside Community Services has noted that as well. They're not happy that the bus stop is being.
Yeah.
Are they thinking of putting it on the west side across 39th Street? Is that what?
Yeah, they just moved it across the street, but as we know, that's not a very easy to cross.
No.
Yeah, it's a truck route and it's not maintained at the moment. So it's very challenging for anybody that's not in it. All right. Corey's gonna add something.
Yeah, so I don't know the reasoning that the MTA, used specifically for this stop, but I will say just in general, in terms of like bus stop locating practices, it is better to put it on the far side of an intersection, just because the bus is gonna stop to pick people up. So you'd like it to have at least gotten through the intersection before people board, so that when they're all boarded, the bus can move instead of having to stop again. So again, I don't know if that's the case here, but just in general, there's a lot of, best practice that goes into why they put stops there. And I think then comes, the community feedback, right? So it's just important, I think, to understand like maybe why that move happened in the first place. For sure. Yeah, just
I think we're just hearing stuff from people who actually are on the street.
Yeah,
at the stop.
not to
Yeah,
disagree.
No, no, I think the primary complaint about the bus system is that it's slow. And so
Yes.
when the MTA makes moves to speed it up,
Right.
it may not make everyone happy. And this is the stuff that's on the street though. It's important to hear. All right, I have Assembly Member Stephen Raga here, I believe. If there's any public comment, I'll ask if you have time to wait after a 15-minute presentation. Barry?
Well, I just wanted to voice my concern. There's some new zoning going on and they're building a lot of new apartments. They have 14,700 apartments. that's gonna have an impact on our transportation.
All right,
And it's gonna be serious. It's, I
if
mean,
you wanna do it
people
in
are
one
driving
minute,
cars, they're not buying bikes, they're buying cars and driving cars. And we get gridlock in Blissville all the time as soon as a highway has an accident or the bridge is up on Greenpoint Avenue. We get gridlock. You can't get out of the neighborhood. And we're facing issues like that from other sources. You know, they're building the Gowanus Canal area, 9,000 units are going up, and the roads along that are gonna lead to the subway here. People going into Manhattan because they can't access it any faster. And that's gonna cause problems. I don't know if the city is planning for this, but they should be. They should have planned for it before they sold the property and uh, gave it out to his builders to build. It doesn't make sense to have to come back after the fact and fix the transportation system.
yeah, no, I appreciate that, and that's something that we've been,
I mean, they should have anticipated all of this.
yeah.
It's all part of the whole thing. And I don't know if that's happening. I hope it
Yeah.
is. I fear it's not happening.
That's certainly what I've been saying too, is, I think it's important for new housing to be built, but some things should have, infrastructure for transit.
I mean, we
on it.
can't, it's into congestion pricing here.
Mhm. Exactly, yeah. All right, I appreciate the comment. This community board is going to vote on the rezoning on June 18th. Our full board meeting is on this Thursday, and I know a lot of committee members signed up for public comment. We are accepting through email and through that, even more public comment. We will vote on the ULO process to see if this goes through, and we have certain asks for that, including improving the transit and planning for the future. The city or the state says that it does have the capacity to add more trains to the system to accommodate more.
Well, I mean, I'm an advocate of bus rapid transit because you can institute it quickly. It doesn't cost $40 billion like the Second Avenue subway. And it could get people there fastly in a car.
Yeah, and that's another ask that we've had is.
And
dedicated
speed is
footprint.
an issue because travel times are increasing.
Yeah.
The canary in a coal mine is, emergency vehicle travel times. If they keep increasing, we're in trouble.
Yeah, for sure. And this is all on the table and things being discussed. I want to move quickly because Stephen Raga is waiting to speak. Assemblymember Raga.
5 words.
Patricia has words.
How long have you lived in New York?
Me?
I don't know if you have to answer that question.
I mean, that's the
Well, that's
answer.
the same type of, but how old am I?
Yeah, but that's the question and answer together. Why don't they do things in the proper sequence?
And how many times have these questions changed? Not very many. They keep doing projects with the same problems when the project is finished.
Corey, you have a quick one?
They should have
Right,
done
I do wanna say,
I should have anticipated it first.
Just
and
like a
then-
I
loading
think the
zone,
issue,
created
the
roads.
implication
Why wasn't
that that is a factor in the transportation issue.
You know,
Okay,
grant them
one of the
building
reasons
permits
why
until you work
there's a
all
lot of
over.
long timers in the neighborhood.
Conversation, please.
One of the reasons why there's a lot of long terms in the neighborhood compared to, younger people is because the city's becoming increasingly unaffordable to people who want to move to New York City. And that's something that we're trying to address, and the city's trying to address by increasing the housing stock. Now, that's difficult, right, to add people in a dense area. And that's why the working group for the community board is considering all of these additional, infrastructure upgrades that we're hoping the city will do in cooperation with this subzone. I think to your point,
Sequence.
yes, I think which we're following a very clear sequence. I think to your point about these pop-up sort of rezones, right? That's something that I think this is trying to avoid, right? We're looking at a whole neighborhood comprehensively and saying, okay, we need more housing, we need affordable housing for young people to start families, for everyone to find work. How do we do that in a way that, like you said, what upgrades need to happen so that it doesn't, have these downstream consequences? And to your point about bus rapid transit, one of the recommendations that Riley and I have made in those working group meetings is to work with DOT on a streets plan to propose bus lanes, to move them through traffic and because like you said, it's a cheap way to speed up bus service. That obviously has to work with the
I mean,
MTA. There's, conversations that need to happen.
I even think it's possible to have buses to not stop at lights, with flashing lights like emergency vehicles and sirens. And a coordinated design between the street light and the bus, so the street light flashes for the traffic.
Well, yeah, that is something that exists with DOT. It's called transit signal priority. So we
Yeah.
do put that on a lot of our projects. So
Because,
Ralph
and it-
Cramden had the answer. Odd number streets, the buses, and even number street buses.
I like
There-
that. Bus stop.
That's
Straight
half,
line.
that's half the people are going to be on the bus. Only the people that gotta go to even streets will be on the even street bus. And the people that gotta go to odd streets are gonna be on the odd street bus.
Right, I
Very
appreciate it,
simple.
And I like Ralph Cramden. Assemblyman Raga, I am gonna move on to you if you have the time for us.
I do. Great to see you folks. Thanks for inviting me to join. So I couldn't make last month. It was the same night as Queen's Night in Albany, so I couldn't join. But I heard you had an exciting committee meeting anyway. Thank you to the chair and the members and our district manager for all the work you do. I was just asked to talk briefly about one of our bills. I'm going to try to stay as long as I can, and if there's any questions that I have to leave and hop off, Jamie, my legislative director, will answer it. She's the one leading the way on the bill anyway. So the bill that we want to introduce to you guys is called the Automated Curb Enforcement Bill. You could read the actual text on the website if that's your thing. It's a bill number Assembly A5440. And basically what it does is going to establish an automated camera system to capture and enforce parking violations in the city. So this is going to be some things like idling in crosswalks, parking on loading zones, and stopping in restricted areas. So there's a few purposes of the bill. Number one, promote safety. Curb violations can force drivers into oncoming traffic. Curb violations can block, you see it, sidewalks, crosswalks, bike lanes, and forcing people to walk on the street, not just for one block, but a few. It's also going to help reduce congestion, prevent cars from blocking roads and intersections. Also kind of increase enforcement of actual law. The curb violations have been difficult to kind of enforce, and there's very few of the violations actually result in tickets being given. And also lastly, it's probably going to help, there's going to be environmental considerations and factors. So reducing emissions, the idling cars themselves release a bunch of emissions which harm the environment through pollution, greenhouse gases, all of that. There's a few issues or a few things I could touch on briefly, and then we can go with any questions. How will this bill actually change enforcement? Well, similar to camera enforcement that has been implemented already for like red light and speeding, when there's about 73% decrease in red light violations, 30% decrease in speeding violations, we're going to use that model for this. There has been, we made some edits on the wording of the bill in the last few weeks, and also address some hesitations. So for folks that might be concerned that this might be an overstep or overreach in surveillance, and especially with cameras policing the streets is very understandable. But the use of the traffic cameras is not unprecedented, and there's language in the bill to specifically address these concerns. The bill uses the same language regarding camera footage. So as the bill which established the actual red light camera system, and also the footage does not at all collect biometric data. It just collects the vehicle data, and then the footage is disposed of after the case is closed, and it's not stored anywhere further indefinitely. It's going to be disposed of. We're working with both the a few assembly members on this, also with open plans, and there have been some questions also about deliveries? What if the delivery trucks and delivery workers are kind of the vulnerable groups on the streets? This bill will decrease the likelihood of those situations, and it's actually being supported by Las sorry, I haven't been sleeping. Yes. Jamie, I'm sorry. I'm very out of it right now. Yes, they support the bill. Oh my God, they're gonna hate me. But there are some statistics in how how effective the camera enforcement will be, especially from other places that similar bills like this have been instituted. The phases that we were trying to do of this bill during budget season, this was March, April, late again from about a month and a half here on the state budget, trying to get this funded within the state itself to secure cameras across the city. Now, the version of the bill, we're trying to empower the city itself and the city council to implement this on the local level. And how this would work is where we are identifying these intersections. These are intersections that we're not picking. These are where we've been working with DOT on the actual implementation on where they have high rates of frequent intersections that have fatalities or high ticketed areas. Those are the areas that are probably going to be up for possible use of these cameras. It's going to be very limited. And it's not like we're going to walk out and there's 5 cameras in every intersection. So it's just going to be those high traffic areas. So, and when would it go to effect? Well, ideally it would be a year after it becomes law. So it would have a lot of time in between to raise any concerns, and at that point it would be on to DOT to help its implementation. City DOT for its implementation. Any questions? But before I do that, Jamie, did I miss anything? Because this was you might have any updates and on the bill.
Yeah, just to regurgitate what the assembly member said and just add on a little bit. We met with DOT. They can't take a huge stance on it, but they do support the bill. And we were also looking into an amendment for a portion of the funds to be dedicated specifically to underserved communities. And we wanted to also make sure that they aren't targeting underserved communities, right? Like we don't want over policing to be happening. So we have some amendments in the works in order to safeguard this. And right now the bill does need a home rule request. So we are considering a council member to introduce a resolution. And if that's adopted by the city council, that gives New York State the green light. And then we're able to pass on the state.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you very much for telling us about it. I know we've had questions about how it was going to be instituted. Corey, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so a comment and a question. So first, I really love the idea of this bill. Full disclosure, the org that I work for outside of community board work, we're a sign-on, a signatory in support of this bill. I know we've heard a lot about like DOT's efforts with loading zones, neighborhood loading zones, and it being frustrating when the loading zone gets made and someone illegally parks in it, and now the trucks that were supposed to use the loading zone can't use it, and then they get ticketed. I think this addresses a lot of the concerns we've had about illegal parking in the neighborhood, and it does it in an equitable way. We've seen school zone speed cameras be very effective in, improving behavior. The only other question I had is, have you approached Julie Wan about this bill? Like, she's our councilwoman.
We've been having open plans to like work with our office. They wanted to reach out to Councilmember Ressler first, but I did bring up Councilmember Julie Wan. But they were thinking about going to Ressler first because he's the chair of the city, state, federal committee, and that's the committee that we need to get the home rule request pushed. So they're hoping with the chair support that we're able to expedite it.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Patricia.
Mr. Raga, you had mentioned that people were questioning the privacy of the cameras being out all the time. And I was wondering if there was some kind of discussion about those cameras being on all the time versus like motion sensors, that if cars went into that spot, it would click on the camera.
There has been initial discussion of what kind of camera that would be of use, but we can't really on our end, at least that would be on after the law is passed. That would be more of the DOT and the city determining which camera would be of use. That's is outside the kind of the text of the bill that we have at hand. So actually, there's many. I didn't know there was that many camera companies even that focus on this, and they're all emailing us saying, "Can we have a meeting to talk about our state of the art camera, this and that?" We're meeting with them in terms of what technology is available and can help maybe address this question, but we're not going to be the entity that is making any determinations or decisions on which camera is going to be used. But in regards to your question, there has been initial talks on that. I think that's something going to be in the later part of the phases here, although the phases kind of blend into one thing. But that has been brought up, and we're going to start probably talking to them soon, maybe over the summer.
It may help to assuage people's concerns about the privacy issue if they had something about the wording in the bill about, you know.
Yeah, that it's not 24 hours.
All right, thank you. Roz?
Yes, we'll do. Definitely take that into consideration.
Hi there, Assembly Member Raga, former board member.
Oh yeah, I was on 2 committees. This was my favorite one. A lot of action.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, of course, this is a bill that I find intriguing and feel very positively about. And I have to tell you, having been biking around a lot in the city more recently, there is just so much more double parking and, you know, all of that. It's hazardous. It's what makes us feel scared. And when there aren't protected bike lanes, because they aren't there everywhere. But I'm curious, tell me, first of all, what's the status of this bill? And are you thinking to try to get it in and pass this term, that is in the next week and a half, or will it go into the next cycle next year? And what are the pressure points? I actually plan to be in Albany on Thursday. Maybe I'll see you there. And we're advocating for some of the other issues. But I'd like to know more about it. And so maybe you could tell us where we are.
Yeah, for sure. And before I answer the question specifically, just to back up, I should have mentioned earlier, a lot of the concerns that led us to help create and push this bill really came from our constituent cases that we were dealing with across our district, specifically from Maspeth. A lot of the Maspeth neighborhoods that were outside CB2 were coming to our office and discussing this similar issue, specifically seniors trying to just cross the street. And the more we talked and discussed with other assembly members, this is around Queens, but also across the city, we're complaining about double parking and this and that, and we see it everywhere. I went to my colleague, Summer Manny de los Santos' district in Washington Heights, and it was quadruple parking. I don't even know how you can even use the road. It's 4 or 5 lanes of just stopped cars. So I mean, this is something that has broad support from across the city. So to your point of where it is now, since it was not funded in the budget, and we're waiting for that home rule and waiting on the city council. And with the short amount of days we have left on session for June, even with a 3-day extension, which we're going to have, this is likely going to be something we help push in January. We come back for after the summer and fall, but also gives us a bit more time to make more edits if needed, like what was mentioned with those suggestions earlier. that was brought up by the committee, and talk to other members and community groups and stakeholders to get their support, whatever that support may be, so we could help move this along and hopefully make this one of the earlier bills we pass. So pre-budget pass, so we don't get locked into the late, any delayed legislation and talks for 2026. So any support, any suggestions, any tips would be very helpful along the way.
Yes, and just to add on specifically with council members, that'll be the biggest help, especially as session is wrapping up, because they'll be in session. And if they're able to support the home rule request and the resolution, then that lets the assembly member, be able to go to the speaker, leadership, et cetera, and have this one of the priorities, so that this is being able to be eligible to be passed on the state level, because they won't pass it unless New York City council members agree to it.
Thank you. Maury, did you have a question?
Yeah,
Hi.
hi, Assembly Member, good to see you. It's Maury here. I want to just piggyback a couple things. First of all, I want to clarify, because the thing that sounded the most interesting to me, besides the blocking of the intersections, was the idling. It happens so much, and whether I'm walking or bike riding or any way of transportation, to have a poof of exhaust in your face because a car is just sitting there idling and idling and idling, destroying our environment, is very concerning. I would like to see it even pushed further than being enforced just at the intersections, but other places as well. If people are idling, and which is against the law but not enforced very well. Number one. Number two, I want to echo Patricia's point about privacy. I think it's a huge concern. We live in a surveillance world today, and a lot of surveillance of innocent people. And we live in a world, I think, especially in a political climate, where people are afraid now to speak up. People are afraid to speak out. They're afraid to protest because of being surveilled. So anytime we can minimize surveillance of folks that, are being picked up, on camera, say, for example, that are not doing anything wrong, for whatever reason. What if someone's, picked up on a camera and, has a sign, a political sign, or, something that can be taken one way or another. I think we have to do everything we possibly can for privacy and to prevent unnecessary surveillance. So if that means, I think that has to be in the text of the bill, because if it's not necessarily going to follow through. The agencies that are tasked with implementing won't know that that's a priority of the people. Did we lose you?
No, you're muted.
No, I'm trying to unmute while
Good.
I'm trying. Okay, I'm like flipping through screens here. Sorry, I'm like on the way to an event. Sorry, I couldn't. I would be in front of a laptop. So yeah, 100%. I share your concerns, especially in this climate. We want to make sure that not just our just the everyday New Yorkers are feel safe, that they're not just being surveilled everywhere, but especially those that are our neighbors that might be out of status or just have concerns on any front, that they don't want to be anywhere near that kind of situation. I 100% get that. Regarding the idling, yes, that's definitely one of the parts of this bill. It also covers like fire hydrants as well. We also took our mobile cameras. There were also surveillance concerns with mobile cameras, and we also touched base with STOP and the advocacy organization on this as well. So we're working together with all fronts, making sure we're not missing anything, or there can be harm onto our neighbors that we haven't thought of. So, and that's pretty much what we're going to be focusing on after January as well, kind of really sharpening the bill, making sure there's no loose ends here. And then we're going to push for the home rule and make it as an early bill in January.
Has STOP endorsed it yet?
I have to touch base with open plans, but I do know they were in favor of using the same language in the red light programs. We're using the same surveillance language, and they are friendly to it, and they like it a lot. I have to touch base if they are going to sign on to our letter.
Was stop, you mean?
Yes, with stop.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you. And Corey, another question?
Yeah, one thing that occurred to me as we're talking about intersection parking, there's a little bit of friction right now because our councilwoman introduced a city bill to accelerate daylighting citywide. At the same time, a report came out from DOT that showed concern around hardened daylighting versus soft daylighting. The concern being that without the actual hardening, people are going to park and obstruct the daylighting. They'll drive through it. It won't really be a safety improvement. And I wonder if this sort of automated enforcement could be an interesting way to bridge that gap, right? To address some of the community's needs about rapidly rolling out daylighting as the daylight hardening operations continue from DOT. I'm curious if that's like a reasonable application of this kind of technology.
All right, keep trying to find the unmute. Yes, I think that's something we could look into. I will. Sorry, I do have to step out right now. But Jamie, if you can answer any questions. Also, Roz, we will see you in Albany on Thursday, and I know Jamie usually is our CB2 liaison there and speaking to you guys. But since it's the last week of a few days of session, she's going to be up in Albany, so we can't join you for this Thursday, unfortunately. But sorry, guys, sorry, I have to step out, but Jamie can answer the questions
You're
too.
going to be in Albany on Thursday
Yes.
during the day.
Yes, during the day. Awesome. Well, I'm going there tonight. So, all right, I'll see you guys. Thank you. Have a great
Thank you
rest
for
of the
coming
meeting.
over.
Sorry I couldn't stay longer. My apologies.
Not at all. Thank you very much. It was perfect. If anybody has any more questions for Jamie about this bill. No, Jamie, thank you so much for setting this up and for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. And thank you for accommodating, especially as he was going back to events. So thank you for the timing. Really, really grateful.
For sure. No, we appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Or stick around, please. Great. If I missed any public comment, if anybody else has signed up, if anybody wants to online or here. No? All right. Thank you so much for everything. We are moving on to updates from DOT. We have Joe Caddy from the DOT here.
So, yeah, real quick, I'll just run through some of the updates I have. First off with do you have any safety improvement project, or as we know it as Blissville Greenway? So we are seeing the first signs of implementation. I know some crews are out there this week, trying to do some layout for a little bit of concrete work that's happening for the project. So we should be seeing some more implementation of that over the summer. So I'll be keeping the board updated about that as it moves along. But we should see work happening pretty soon on that. And next would be any other bike improvements in the area, such as 43rd Avenue. That's still in design. I know the bike team is looking at the corridor as a whole, which is why it's taking some time. They're looking at a lot of the different intersections that have that right turn design. Queens Boulevard corridor. 43rd Avenue. Sorry.
43rd. Okay.
Yeah, 43rd Avenue and still right. Yeah, 43rd is coming. They're looking at some more of like the hardening the right turn.
Yeah, I'll say like I ride that all the time and it's always.
Are you down on the Summerside then?
Yeah, we're in Sunnyside, 43rd, right turn.
Yeah, sorry, I was the third.
It's over.
Yeah. Some things don't need updating because they don't get updated.
Yeah, like a lot of them are either answered or doing some updates.
So what, I wasn't really there. What are you doing with 43rd and 43rd?
43rd along 40, not 43rd, 43rd Avenue. Looking to see if we can harden some of the right turns there because there's the mixing zones between the bikes and the cars. And as for that bus stop concern on Queens Boulevard, that has thankfully been relocated, so that issue should be fixed now. And
To where?
At 44th Street?
Yeah, at 44th Street, that stop is removed because of the elevator work that's going on.
So it's already been moved physically?
Yeah, I just passed by it on the way here, and I saw that it's just, standard no standing signs now.
So is there any stop between 40th and 46th?
That I have to find out, because I think it might have been relocated. So I gotta confirm where it was.
43rd would make the most sense.
Yeah, it just anywhere that's off of like the work area. If we're nothing up.
People go.
Exactly.
If I may interrupt, Ross has her hand up.
Yeah, I have a question. Any updates on Woodside Ave and 39th Avenue? That intersection there, people come whipping around the corner. We were talking about it last month. I'm curious if any ideas have been entertained or any, you know.
Well,
Still,
I can look and see what requested. I know that I know Riley, we spoke a little bit about some of the active cases that are around that area. And I would have to look back to see which ones are there, but yeah.
Of course, stand if I can track right now.
Yeah. I think she's speaking mostly on just a specific intersection.
Yeah, I don't think we've
What's that
ever
out?
requested anything specific about the intersection. I know that, crosswalks could be shortly.
Well, there was, there was, who was it? Someone spoken last month about concern plans.
Yes, yeah.
maybe a stop sign there or some intervention, because people come around that corner and, you know, we've had, one of our board members was, had a problem recently with her baby in a carriage and so on. And, you know, there's got to be something done there. If we need to open a case, I don't know what you call it, but please take a look.
If we need to open anything up, like any specific, if there's like a specific request, definitely send that my way. If there's like any other ideas for that intersection as well.
Seems for you to come up with the ideas. We're not the traffic experts, engineers.
But do we have a specific ask? I know that a shortened
Slow
cross.
it down, slow them down, make people come around that corner and they can't see the pedestrians that are crossing and, you know, sooner or later we'll have a serious problem.
You're talking about the blind corner on Woodside Avenue.
And 39th Avenue,
Yeah, just so 39th Avenue gets separated into two sections.
yeah, the south side of, the south part of 39th Ave, the one that is closer to my house than yours.
The western leg of that is.
Although the one closer to my house could also use some.
I think I did point out last meeting that the flex posts, the vertical linears were gone and I don't think they've been replaced yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so they got replaced very quickly after we spoke to you.
Yeah.
And then disappeared very quickly.
Wow.
And it looks like vandalism because it doesn't look like
Okay.
damage from an automobile. It looks like somebody took it.
Is anyone trying to like park there or like? And
I've
like never
seen
seen anyone.
people park there, but
Okay.
it seems to me like somebody,
Okay, it's
I don't know.
Usually,
Because
it's-
even there's a deep one where like, does somebody really hit
Yeah.
all of them and take them all out?
yeah, that's true.
I have a
Wow,
question.
they are not there right now, I can tell you, and
Yeah, that's a quick fix. That way you can take that.
Roz, are you talking about is the turn problematic coming down Woodside, making a left onto 39th Avenue or coming up from Northern and making a right onto 39th Avenue?
the latter, I think, is where I
Coming up
see
from
it.
Northern?
You know, people are coming south on Woodside Ave and turning the corner right there.
Past corner,
Yeah.
yeah, because you have the cars parked on the south side. And they see the cars there and then they have to make that quick turn to get into the driving lane. But
Right.
there has to be something, people are crossing there.
I mean, the flex post and the, you know, there's sort of daylighting in the little pocket park that's there. To me, I don't see the problem as much for the people coming on Woodside Ave, say from Queens Boulevard area, and making the left turn. It's more making the right turn coming south.
Would we put a bump right there on the corner and then, you know, move the crosswalk so that people hit the bump and then they stop.
Or those, they have those little like, I call them armadillos, right? But they're those little black and yellow like humps that they use
Yeah.
sometimes with cars.
Something to
Like, I
slow
think that's
down the
something cool.
car
Yeah,
before they,
Yeah.
so give them a chance to see the person that's in the crosswalk.
yeah, that we go.
It might be a good old fashioned stop sign right there for people coming down. That should at least slow them, even though people don't
We could have
often
a-
completely stop.
What's side there?
I agree. I think a stop sign could be warranted, right? Like the bike boulevard ends there. And so it brings a lot of pedestrian and bike traffic there that want to continue to the park. So I think there's, I don't know, I haven't obviously done a traffic study, but I would imagine there's like a disproportionately high number of people walking, biking at that, at that intersection.
You know, just looking at the intersection, I feel like I can talk with the actual team at the time, obviously, to anything. If we can do to bolster that intersection a little bit, because I see what you mean now, there's a little bit of like dead space there.
Yeah.
Just looking at it now, because what makes it a little complicated is because the actual bike lane comes out into that section of the crosswalk, so that's what kind of prevents the painted pedestrian area from being further out into the intersection. But I can see like if there's anything that could be done with that. Yeah.
But I would suggest both intersections of this side of 39th Avenue.
Yeah.
Experience very quick turns, in the crosswalks, quick turning vehicles all over. Yeah, and I'll also mention it's an area with 5 public schools. And so,
I didn't know there's that many now.
yeah, there's 2 public elementary schools, a Catholic school, a high school, and a middle school. Where people walk to those schools because they're all within walking distance.
Okay.
Yeah, so you see a lot of things.
Yeah.
Do we have to pass a motion or something to make this an official case in some way? I mean, what is it that we need to do?
I think we could write a letter asking for safety improvements.
Could I move that we make a letter?
Seconded, yeah. Okay, all in favor of writing a letter asking for safety improvements at 39th Avenue and Woodside Avenue to slow down vehicle traffic and make the crosswalk safer? Unanimous. Thank you. All right, Joe, if you'd like to continue with your list.
Of course. Yeah, yeah, I was on Queens Boulevard, actually, when I was talking about that stop. Mentioned it last time, but, as you all know, we are coming back to Queens Boulevard to harden some of the painted pedestrian areas with the actual concrete this year. We got talking to the project team this week, they said they hope to have that work started within about a month or so. So over the summer, you'll see some of that construction going on up and down Queens Boulevard.
Both sides.
Yeah, both sides. So it would just be for like the painted pedestrian area in the corners, and it'll also be constructing bus boarding islands.
Do I know what you're talking about? Is it making the wider turn? Is that what you're talking about?
So at the corners,
Yeah.
you know how there's the bike lane and then there's the kind of like beige area where pedestrians can wait in
Yeah.
before they cross the street. Those are gonna be built out in concrete. And
Will be raised?
yeah,
Do anybody else that you have that?
yeah, along, believe there's along 43rd or 43rd definitely has. Yeah, yeah, 43rd Street.
43rd Street.
Yes. 43rd Avenue, Skillman, I think there might be some.
Like that's curve.
I'm trying to think of examples in CB2,
Yeah.
because a lot of the lanes here are pretty new. So it takes time to actually build them out of concrete, but
Oh,
if you're ever in Manhattan, like on, Second Avenue or First Avenue. whoever, along the avenues, they have those kind of raised concrete areas where you can wait. It's like sidewalk, bike lane, parking lane, but that's where the race, area
Just have to
would be.
get past the bike lane to get there.
Yeah. But it helps shorten the cross, so,
There was a picture in that presentation from a while back ago.
yeah.
It's a good diagram. I can find out.
Should be on the detour so I can.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, it
it's-
is on the data.
There's plenty of examples all over the city, it's just, I don't know why I'm blanking on other examples. But,
I think there are examples on Queens Boulevard. If you're going down, even under the underpass, under the railroad tracks, there's a thing which raises up, but there are a number further out in Forest Hills where, as a biker, you have to basically go on a little bit of a ramp over the sidewalk, the bulb out area. Is that what you're talking about, I think?
Well, not that the bike lane is gonna be raised up, it's just the painted pedestrian area is gonna be built out in concrete.
Right, okay.
It's just like they have, if anybody's ever in Manhattan, along all the avenues.
Yeah, those are all properly built out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course they are.
I'm gonna have to jump
Now
on.
it's coming to us.
They embraced bike lanes first, so they got to build it out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is there ever gonna be any enforcement on the bikes? When they're traveling the wrong way or they don't stop at red lights and?
That's already ongoing right now.
Yeah,
Oh, I
unfortunately,
know.
there's,
Citywide, actually. There's
Yeah,
a lot of different takes on that, but that's going on right now.
there, by law, bells are required on a bicycle.
I have never, ever heard one.
They're trying not to upset you.
Never.
Respectfully,
Oh, I hear it all.
if you ride a bike in the city, you will hear many. bike
Oh,
bells.
sure.
I promise, I promise.
Oh, I had a guy yesterday who had a car horn on his bike. I kept hearing a car behind me on the Queensboro Bridge.
What?
No, it's not.
I wanna know that you're coming.
Yeah, sure.
the right way.
Yeah.
That's the right
You
way.
get out of the car and you look this way and then bikers come.
So I
They're
do want to
coming
move the
two
meeting
ways
along
on
just
the
because we have a
street.
Long Island City meeting, for me personally, but,
Yeah, I'll get through the rest of my updates real quick.
Yeah.
I gotta leave you. So moving on to Long Island City. I know that there is, as for markings and signage, the CB2 path, the Queensboro Bridge path. So heard a little bit about, the street improvement project that's gonna be complementing the opening of the South End roadway. Finally opened, by the way, thankfully. So believe over the summer, and throughout the rest of the year, there's gonna be a lot of work happening at the base of the bridge, to kind of open up that new crossing at Crescent Street. And create some new concrete at the base of the bridge, kind of, show people that this is the new way to get across the bridge on foot. And that also improve upon like some of the wayfinding issues here, with new paths. So that's should be coming, but I'll keep you all updated.
thank you. And what about painting the bike lanes?
That I have to hear back from my actual previous team about, but that's definitely something that will, do.
Because it
that-
still designates, obviously, bike
Yeah.
lanes on one side and.
Yeah,
pedestrians on the
that,
other.
the 2-foot wide bike,
Yeah.
or whatever they used to be.
One thing if you can share with your counterpart, the wayfinding to lead to the path. There's a sign like at the entrance to the bike end one that looks like, and it's trying to tell them it's on the other side of the bridge, but it looks like it's like turn left here to get, and then it was full of people walking.
Oh,
I
no.
didn't have the heart to tell them like, you gotta go back.
No, I hear, I've been on the Queen side and I've actually had to fix those signs a little bit, a few times, because I've been out there, myself.
It's,
I think if you're not keeping up with the news of the bridge,
Yeah,
people are oblivious to it. And
Mhm.
if this is the way they cross the bridge, this is the way they're gonna cross the bridge.
yeah.
The new signs that are now part of the infrastructure, you just don't notice them because there's a
I
lot
agree.
of signs.
Yeah.
So I already wrote to you about that. I appreciate.
Yeah, we were on, again, I was on a call with a lot of the upper offices of the agency this week, and that was something that even we were hearing from top down saying like, we need more signage.
Yeah.
So.
It's
that-
funny.
Sometimes it's not more signage, sometimes it's different ways to mark, like mark on the
Exactly.
pavement or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, like, and I think once the actual, like, project on the Queen side goes in, it'll be a little more clear, that's where you're supposed to go, because the base where where the path leads out to, where it lands, it'll have an actual, like, pedestrian landing, it won't just be like, look like you're walking onto the road. Like, I walked it myself, it feels like you're just walking onto the road.
Oh, wow.
But
it says 20 miles an hour.
it does still say 20 miles an hour. So don't run faster.
It's funny, when I saw the sign that said new pedestrian path, something went off in the ground like, ooh, a new pedestrian path.
I was like, oh, I
In
wonder
Long
what that
Island
is.
City, where? And then I realized it's talking about the bridge.
Exactly, yeah, it could be a little more specific, but I think also when that new crossing goes in, which is. You're literally gonna have to punch through some of the walls that are on the divider there, but once that's in, that's definitely gonna like. Bring people's attention to like go toward the new path, because, right now, if you're on the north side, it's a little like a bit of a walk to actually get back around to go to the south side.
Yeah, I
So
wanna
that-
tell people like, it's a 5-minute walk, but you'll be so much happier on the other side.
Yeah. So definitely communicating with a lot of the local like stakeholders, like the Long Island City Partnership and JetBlue, like we're making it known like if you're here, that's where you're supposed to go on foot. So,
And they have those electric lights, signs, you know, everybody sees them.
I think I will suggest that honestly.
This is an example of the thing.
Yes, yes, if anyone wants to,
I'll
see that.
Speaking of the bridge, if you don't mind, a couple weeks ago, Debbie and I both brought up the point, I'm sorry to call you in. But we both talked about how when you're coming over the Queensboro Bridge by car, the roadway hasn't been painted in so long, you can't see any of the lines. In fact, the other night, weeks ago, I was coming in, I got I have a really tiny car, and I almost got smushed because there's no line, so people don't know where they're supposed to be driving, so the car was just driving into me because they were kind of diagonally following them,
Okay.
and it's really bad. And
Oh,
that's
just on
at
the
night.
upper level or the lower level?
I think it's both levels, isn't it?
Okay.
They just haven't painted in a long time, I think.
Yeah, I think they were kind of like waiting on the bridge construction. So that's wrapping up still,
Yeah.
like a replacement of the deck, so my expectation is that they're gonna repaint once that's all completed, but I'll definitely ask.
Yeah, 'cause it's also on Queens Boulevard and over the Sunnyside Bridge
Yeah,
too. It's
that I remember we brought up, so
Yeah.
that we can definitely have.
Thank
You up there?
It's not. Oh, I mean, we're all up there.
Yeah, I know, but we're missing people.
Yeah, I think Roz signed off. Yeah,
On the left.
probably went to the.
I think Roz went to the other meeting.
Oh, right, okay.
Final two updates, for Long Island City, the issue with the signage, at the intersection of Northern Boulevard and Queens Boulevard. I know there was the issue with those obstruction of signage, those have thankfully been corrected, with, especially with that pole that was in the middle of
Oh,
the
yeah.
sidewalk. We were riding,
Saw that.
a developer hard about that, so we got the signage actually put on like kind of an overhead, like gantry sign basically, if the lack of a better word. So now the signage is above you instead of in the middle of the sidewalk.
I
So,
saw folks
thankfully.
online in multiple places talking about how great, like, you know, obviously it's not perfect, it's still emerging, but
it's
like,
still-
everyone likes the new signage.
I'm glad because it was a pretty good idea because that's something I thought of myself that could have been done. But I can't take credit for that, but I'll take credit for getting it done. There you go.
Thank you. It was crazy.
Yeah, really good. But our guys that, are, you know, people in our construction permit office and the bikes office, they, you know, they got a lot of, good ideas when it comes to that.
And I will continue to press about that area because it
Is it
seems
still not
like
good?
until that building gets built, it's just gonna be this crunch.
Yeah,
People coming off a bus should not have to meet e-bikes on
I
the
agree.
sidewalk.
Or off the subway.
Or people coming up out of a subway
Turn
stand
left and.
surrounded by
Who knows
by
if
plywood,
people come
should not have to
up
meet
somewhere
e-bikes.
by the street,
So we'll figure something out.
Of course, yeah, and speaking of figuring things out, I'll speak on, Dutch Hills, Green Park, so we, you know, DOT and the partnership, the Lawrence partnership, we're, you know, still working on getting a permanent contract for maintenance of that area. Ever since, you know, since Parks discontinued, maintenance of that area. We do have a temporary contract in place, for weekly cleanup of the area. But that is, we're definitely working as quickly as we can to get a more permanent, maintenance of that area. There's a lot of trash, you know, accumulates in Queens Plaza. And that's, all for me.
Can I just mention one thing?
Sure, Debbie.
You know where those millstones are?
Yeah,
It
it's,
is filthy,
yeah,
filthy. When we get that cleaned up, it's just an eyesore, people coming over the bridge and coming, whether you're walking, biking, driving, it's just unsightly.
yeah, they
And
do
we've
try,
gotten a couple complaints and
yeah, they do try to get to that in the maintenance that they have right now, but once that permanent contract, they should definitely see a bigger improvement of that. So they do try to get to it as much as they can, but it's not easy getting in those.
I know,
spots.
it's,
So,
maybe one day they can all be replaced.
that's what we're trying, you know, it's a pretty big capital.
That was a
construction
big
asset.
fight a long time ago, this board, so. I walk lightly, I step lightly, I step carefully, but it is an unsightly location.
Of course.
when the job, we've gotten, a bunch of complaints.
That's something we, we as an agency, like, absolutely, because it's just,
I mean, it's a maintenance site, I agree,
Yeah,
but it is very unsightly, so I just want to.
no,
I know one the LIC bid is, studying the area for future capital updates.
Yeah.
I'm gonna suggest putting all the traffic underneath and building the pump.
I would love that.
So I just want to be on the record.
That'd be great.
We go underneath the roadway.
The roadway, yeah, the Queens,
Okay, do a
Queens
big dig.
Boulevard, exactly, we'll do a big dig.
Yes. It'll take 30 years.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a fun
But I'm
idea.
talking about coming off the bridge and that.
Yeah, with all those little stones.
That'd be a real cool.
Yes, that's French. Let's call them up.
That's everything, Joe?
That is it.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Joe and DOT? Patricia?
Please explain, well, let me back this up.
That's not a
I
problem.
used to get all my.
No, but they're
prescriptions
making
from
it
Burke
sound like
Street
it's such a
at
big,
Friday.
difficult thing. You have
It's
to
no
go back
longer-
like that.
Now I have to go to Walgreens
Nobody's saying going there. and fix
I don't
that,
walk
adding
anywhere
the stones.
because I'm
Okay.
disabled. I
And a
can't walk.
housekeeper in
from my
there.
house to-
So
I have to park.
That means that.
The only parking spot was ride share spot. So what the hell is a ride share spot? Please explain.
I think that might be an
Oh, zip
accessorized
car.
stop.
No, I think it's zip car.
Is it did it say zip car or like?
It said
Yeah.
ride
Car, if it
share.
says car share, then it's for like companies like Zipcar and Get Around.
I think,
43rd out?
I think it's an accessory ride.
43rd,
Yeah, it could,
45th Street.
45th.
The success ride
yeah,
is a
it
ride
could either
share.
be an accessorized stop or it could be a
No.
car share.
It's a chair, so I,
Okay, so it's probably a car share spot because it'll usually have like the company logo on the sign.
it didn't have a company logo. It just said, nobody park here, even placard people, disability placard people can't park. And
Do you?
I had to comment, but I won't say it.
I
What,
didn't
Was
take
it
a
a
picture.
city, like
Mm,
DOT
yeah.
sign, or was it like from
Does
Walden?
it have a picture of?
was it a city sign or?
Yeah, like, was it a DOT sign? or was
No.
it-
Really?
It was a something share.
There
Was it a car share or ride share? But it said like, people have to drop off cars here, and it was 2 spots.
Mm.
And I'm saying, what the hell is this? You know how I feel about.
I think
it.
it's, I think it
There
sounds
were
like it's
some
car share.
spots.
It
Yeah.
sounds like it's car share. If they're like
What
markings
is
on the
the
road.
point? What is the point?
It's for, well, car share is like the same as bike share. It's like you can rent a car for the day and that's where they're stored. That's like the dedicated spot for that car.
I mean, but come on. I'm not putting it on you. I'm just
Yeah.
saying beyond. If I'm gonna rent a car, somebody's gonna drop off my rental car in that spot, and then where does that person go? To get back to his.
Well, no,
The
the
car
car
stays
there, there, and that's
People
spot.
walk to the car and drive it, and then they put it back when they're done.
Yeah,
But somebody has to bring the car there.
no, the car stays there. That's like the home for the car. And so if you live nearby and you don't own a car and you need to use a car for a day, you walk to the spot.
Or an
you
hour.
rent- You use an app to rent the car.
Excuse
and you
me,
use
can
the car
somebody
for the
Google
day.
it?
Well,
Which
which company is putting the car
Google
there?
it.
Is it like companies like Zipcar or Get Around?
No.
Yeah, it's not like a regular
accessory
car
ride.
rental like Enterprise or Avis. There are special ones where you rent them for short term, like you do a city bike.
Like for a
but
few
it's not
hours,
car.
if you need a car, like that's where you get the car from. Like you just walk down, like if you live down the block, from it, you walk down the block, you use your phone, unlock the car, and you use it for a few hours, and then when you're done with it, you bring it back at the end of the day.
So what you're telling me is that these companies have a dedicated spot that they can have a car stay there for anybody who wants to rent a car can rent a car.
The board voted in favor of it.
So my question is, who got paid off of this?
Well, the companies pay to use that spot,
Pays who?
the city.
I mean, really, really. And, I'm sorry. And if you have a disability or a handicap placard, you can't park there and walk across the street to get to the pharmacy. I mean, come on.
Is this the only parking spot on the street?
There's 2 dedicated spots. There were no other spots.
But there were other parked cars on the street?
What do you mean?
But this is
Well,
the same thing
well,
as like a
but-
loading zone, right? Like, it's a different
Well,
use than.
so the problem is you have a problem with a system that reduces car ownership. Meanwhile,
My
there are a lot of
problem is-
parked cars.
My problem is is that 2 spots were taken up and weren't being used. There were no cars there, probably aren't being used often.
That means the car's being used. Like,
It could be that they're out being used. I
that's what
just
that
want-
means. If the car isn't there, it's being used by.
So what you're saying.
The
is
system
that
wouldn't work if
somebody
there were
has
not a
those
space for
spots.
them.
So somebody has those spots. Somebody paid the city to keep those spots for themselves.
Same as if you were, paying for a meter. That's like they pay for the spots full time.
I'd like to pay for the spot in front of my house full time.
I will say that.
Welcome to keep.
I think
That's not allowed either.
I will say there are a lot of cities
Yeah.
around the country that do this, and in fact, New York has been less friendly than other cities, and we actually lost an entire company that had rent by the minute cars. So you could rent a car for 7 minutes, 8 minutes, run to up one other end of the town, leave it where you go. When you're ready to leave, come back home, you get another one, and it's basically like City Bike,
I actually,
but for cars, so that you could be more efficient and not have as much individual car ownership. The idea is, I think that you're concerned about is that there are people who aren't sharing their spots like a service like this gives, where many people can share that same car, but there are other people probably taking up spots like Riley was pointing out, I think, that those are the spots you might have wanted.
On 43rd Avenue, because they could be parked on 43rd Avenue,
And they might be parked for 4 days.
Well, I don't know that,
No, but they might.
but if I'm riding around trying to find a spot and I see that there are 2 spots open and they're saying for a car share. And they're not even available for people who, because of a disability, when the Friday night closed down, I was looking for a pharmacy that had a parking lot. Because I would need one, and what happens to people like that? I have to really walk by my house and walk over.
I think the answer to this question and to Assemblymember Raga's bill is metered parking, short-term metered parking. You needed a spot and everybody else had taken spots.
Yeah.
If there were metered parking, there would be open spots.
Metered
But I'm
parking.
gonna table this for the next time that this shared space issue comes up in front of us, so that we can have that discussion then.
How many
Just to
of
move
those
forward.
are there around the neighborhood?
Not that many.
We voted, there's a couple under the
King-
7 case.
so I could drive up the hour on
Corey has a question for Joe, I'm gonna call Roger in the room.
I'll make it really, really quick. I just want to bring up the 29th Street bulkhead. So we had written a letter, maybe 2022, I think it was. Yeah, where that's like the whole issue of like, this cement truck is moved over into like the city or the state's property, the bulkhead falling in. And we were trying to get something done about it. And I remember when we wrote to Director Nicole about it. There's still a letter up on the website, our website, that we had written to the city, and there was like a whole press conference there. We had like LIC partners, everybody was there.
Yeah.
And our transportation committee, but I think it's kind of fallen by the wayside, and I would love to see it reinitiated, kind of looked at and discussed more. Maybe we can send you a copy of the letter.
Yeah, definitely. I'll probably have to do some digging for that. It's the first I'm kind of hearing
Okay,
about it.
yeah, yeah.
So I'll definitely ask my office to get up to speed on it, to see where it's at.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Cool, that sounds great. Thank you for discussing that. I'll keep it on the agenda. Great, and thank you, Joe.
Thank
I think that's it.
Appreciate y'all.
Before you go, everything else is good, right? Okay, review avenues being built and everything else is good. Thank you.
We are moving.
Oh, wait.
And pressing that key point about getting it in, so.
And this is our last committee meeting before the summer. Any new projects in the works for the year, or are we just catching up on last year?
Well, we have the 29th Street Plaza that's
Yeah.
going in.
Yes.
And I know that LaGuardia recently announced the winner of the mural for that street.
All right.
I think that's a preview of it. But very excited for that one.
Yeah.
Definitely. But that's it. And then also the construction of that median on New School near 51st Street, Northern Boulevard. So that,
Boulevard capital projects, that starts next year, maybe?
it's looking like next year, because I haven't heard much, but I'm gonna hope this year as well.
Okay.
But
Cool, thank you so much. And, yeah, there are many, many crosswalks in our district that need to be repainted. We should file complaints to 3011 and send it to you.
Yes,
Thank you.
and I can help it,
Okay, thank you so much.
especially if they're batched together. that'd be
Like summer project for the kids.
Yeah,
I'll get it. I do not endorse, child labor.
I was gonna have them clean. that
And
with
Joe,
stuff.
we continue to work and be good partners throughout the summer, so.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're not going on vacation.
I'll try this.
Thank you, Joe. Great, I have some old business, oh. Joe, one thing,
Talking.
Sorry, what was
I'm so sorry. So, those public members who came last week, or community members to talk about the parking situation
I am
in
working.
Hunter's Mouse, there was a lot of questioning about what was going on, and you guys have clarified what's going on?
From what I understand, some of the, channelization or like the dash lines on the side of the road were repainted. So I think that's where where it started from. because
Faded paint had been repainted?
There was like work on the street and it was like new asphalt was put down on like the curb line. And so I think some of that got repainted, but again, we have a whole, idea for parking in that area that we'd like to, tell the board very soon about.
Okay,
So stay tuned.
thank you very much, thank you. Great, I have a list of speed reducers that have been approved by DOT, if anybody has any skin in that game, I just wanted to get them on there. And then with one LIC community board vote, that again is happening very soon. There will be discussion at the Thursday full board meeting, but there is a working group that's been meeting every week, which I am part of. If there's anything that anybody wants to get in at the last minute about the one LIC rezoning, can't be too long-winded about it, but things that we have pushed are a streets plan from the DOT so that we can see what the streets will actually look like, if they will have Vision Zero improvements, protected bike lanes, pedestrian safety, the subway and station capacity. We have seen it in the environmental report that maybe the Court Square station cannot actually accommodate all the people at peak. And if the subway, if this does get built out, the subways need to add a couple more trains during peak hours. And then council member would really like open space under the Queensboro Bridge to be taken from DOT and given to parks, so it becomes a public park. New York City Parks also has space under the Queensboro Bridge that they can turn into parks.
And then not gonna grow rocks.
Who's good? Oh, is that, what do they do
Because
there?
there's all rocks there that they put instead of plants, so
Oh,
it's like they're growing rocks.
You're talking about under the end train?
Yeah.
The millstones?
The
Is that
beginning
what
of
we're
the
talking about?
plaza,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah, I think, is that what you were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, there are complaints about it being very dirty. So Joe was saying they want to get rid of that, but actually under the bridge, there's, the archways that hold up the bridge, there's a lot of space there that's used for parking lots for parks and DOT. And since there's a lack of open space for all this new housing coming, we are asking in our ask, if we're going to approve this, for open space to be opened up over the bridge. Since there's not really a whole lot of place to build parks in Long Island City. The one place they're doing something, just so everybody knows, because I've seen an image of a Gordon Triangle, which is in Long Island City. They are going to get rid of the section of 10th Street, I believe, to make that a much bigger plaza. So it'll feel like a small park. Areas like that in Long Island City are worth suggesting if anybody has anything in mind. WAP is the waterfront access plan. That's also something that we are voting on, to make sure that the waterfront access is actually something that's serves the community, is nice, is wide, may accommodate bikes, if that's something we're asking for. I don't know if we've talked about it. Yep, so having said that, if anybody on this committee wants to say anything that needs to be discussed, although I think we may have seen what the actual ask is in the document being sent out to the board. I don't know, have you guys gotten that, or is that just the working group? It's just a working group, so we may see it on Thursday. Okay. Great. That's it. I will say that at the public meeting last week, not too many people brought up transit issues. Not too many people brought up transportation issues which fall under our purview. Much of it was about housing and infrastructure and whether we want all this new. They're going to be very big skyscrapers. So the 3D images are very, very tall.
You know, much like this gentleman spoke about how things have to be done sequentially. The building in Long Island City doesn't stop, and you're constantly having to change and
Yeah.
talk
No, well,
about
that
the
is something.
transportation, the streets and the subways and.
I think that's the idea of this process, right? Is like they're saying, let's look at the whole neighborhood and figure out how to accommodate the growth before we say yes. Right? Because what they did before is what you're talking about, right? A property comes up and then, oh, now there's a lot more people, now we got to adjust. Like, we're trying to get ahead of this.
As long as there's a space, they're gonna build a building.
Yeah. And well,
Well, no, the city has to permit it, you know, like that's,
And they will.
yeah.
I mean, they haven't historically.
A lot of what's coming to a head is,
That's
yeah.
a change, you know, that's why everyone's reacting.
I think the number one issue for New Yorkers is housing, the cost of housing and the availability of housing, and this is part of that process. Is Long Island City is transit rich, even though it may not feel that way. With his CBTC, the train communication system that
train.
7 train utilizes, where the 7 train can have 4-minute headways, that has been installed on the G train, the F train, the R train, you know, that's,
Call Long Island City affordable housing,
no, I mean, that's not up to me here.
but
We are requesting for there to be affordable housing incorporated in these projects. Like, that's one of the big things that working groups discussed.
That's really a fallacy, because when they started with city lights in Long Island City, it was supposed to be so much of the area was supposed to be set aside for the people who lived there. They became in with a lottery system. There's not one person in the building who even, lived in the area. So these apartments, affordable housing, I don't know if they make up the word affordable housing. We're going to get we've been getting affordable housing for the last 40 years.
the median is not.
So I'm gonna
It's
say most of this
ridiculous.
discussion will be for the general board meeting, and we're gonna stick with.
Is the MTA under the purview of this committee?
Uh,
Well, something that should definitely happen is swapping the F and M. If we're gonna do, one OIC.
Meeting today?
Okay. We can send this.
Okay, that might have happened.
Okay, yeah, that should definitely,
It's the process.
yeah.
And it will happen, and they're gonna provide updates as it comes along.
Oh, good, okay, yeah, that'd be what, and then another one would be the 21st Street busway would also be good to, expand upon for one LIC.
What is?
Please come and comment on that. Literally, no one is making comments about transportation.
With all this building going on along the
I
shoreline,
think we're happy to.
I'm on
it changed the dynamic of our neighborhood, because people used to drive to these spaces to go to work. There were warehouses, factories, and now they're living there. So now they're driving in different directions.
Or not driving at all.
And we might not have a good idea for how to work this out.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm concerned about, because of all this new things.
yeah, I mean, it's a thorny issue, and I will say that the community board has been asking all these questions, making all these demands. They're working with the Department of City Planning in these working group meetings. They're present in every meeting to say these issues, housing has to happen. The community board is doing its best to include the cheapest, most affordable housing possible. But the reality is, a lot of housing doesn't get built if it's fully affordable. It just, and I'm not making any apologies.
I
but
mean,
am
I'm not
saying there
against
are
the
projects-
goal of building
There are
affordable
projects,
housing,
actually, the
quote,
building next
unquote.
door to this building is 100% affordable, we've been reassured. And,
Did you do that?
What about Phipps too?
but it is, and the reason we know that is we've allowed them to have some construction meetings here. So they've been very good neighbors, in updating us and providing, so they are part, they did come to land use to do that presentation, so that's how we know. But as well, they're partnering with the Elm Court as well. It's this developer's first, I believe, one of their first projects in Queens.
Yeah, so if I can chime in on that, right? We, you know, there's certainly 100% affordable, and by affordable, we mean income restricted, right? Like they're subsidized in some way. 100% affordable units, like they do happen, and when they happen, we're thrilled, right? I think to Riley's point, if we require that every single building be 100% income restricted, then you end up inadvertently limiting development. Because a lot of the, you know, the public funding for this stuff is limited. The private funding, the idea is, right, they're profiting on the market rate units and they use some of those profits to subsidize.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody advocates for 100%.
Well, this is the point,
building.
that if we set the requirement too high, you end up limiting the development that produces the affordable housing. So that's where the conversation has to be, right? It's like,
Well, I think there has to be, you know, a compromise.
Yeah.
And it has to, because there are people, you have to figure out who wants to live in the city and how do you prevent people from being pushed out of the city that want to be here, and the people that have to service the economy
right.
of the city, that if they can't afford to live here, they can't afford to live here, how are we gonna have service workers?
Absolutely.
Right, and it's not right, and, at the same time, they shouldn't be pushed out to places that are so far out that they can't even get to work. But, you know, there has to be some kind of discussion with it, and that's what all this process is about, trying to figure out what is affordable housing, how much can,
$15 an hour is affordable housing.
And
$15 an hour.
Mhm.
So why don't people really get real? The federal government has to raise the poverty level in this country. Stop saying $15 and $18, and then you're gonna pay $22, you know, to get your coat cleaned.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's all bull crap. Okay, that's the way you do it. You raise your poverty level. You bring industry into, if you're going to make affordable housing, what do these people do? What is their job? Are they service? Are they plumbers? Are they electricians? Bring those kind of companies into the area with the housing. Okay, you don't build a building and then realize that all the people from the city lights development can't get on the number 7 train in the morning. Okay, that they have a line going up the stairs. That train was like this, boom, 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 3 minutes and 20 seconds to Grand Central in the morning, okay? Now you can't get on the train. That was really well planned.
So, listen,
Good night,
I
everybody.
appreciate you being here on the comments. I want you to know your community board is working towards everything that you're saying.
The accessory, that I was brought here under false pretenses, so we say that.
we can totally relay those.
Wait, can I just say
Yeah.
one thing?
Yeah.
Folks should also consider, if you have issues like this ongoing, you can also, in addition to coming here, if you put it in an email or write it in a letter,
I
even,
don't do email. What happened to the old people?
do you have a letter? Can you write it?
Phone, a landline.
You can call the office.
Yes, I
We
did.
set it for you.
Oh, okay.
Everybody is disposing, we are disposable at our age. You call up a phone number, and they go, you can reach us on the website at da-da-da-da-da-da. I could have did that from the beginning if that's what I wanted to do. I called you on the phone when I talked to you. No, I want to get involved with this accessory yard because it is totally discriminatory. If it's part of the MTA law, 65 and over, half fare card. Disabled, half fare card. Why are we paying full fare?
Okay.
I'll say goodnight to everybody.
Thank you very much.
Hope
I'm gonna look into it and contact the people.
So, Maureen, just to your point, right? I think one of the positive signs I've seen, and I work 100% with everything you're saying, right? One of the positive signs I've seen is that, you know, I've shared a lot of the frustration with allowing 130% of AMI, area median income, to be considered affordable. And I've been pleased to see that that's not on the table, right? For one LIC, that they're looking at lower tiers of income. So I'm hopeful, right? I'm hopeful that we're making some progress here. We're gonna produce
And it has to be
restricted
permanent,
housing.
'cause that was
fast.
one of the
Yeah.
big, you know, we talk about like, you know, not enough affordable housing. A lot of times it was once affordable and it rolled off at a certain point.
That also is off the table.
Yeah,
right?
which
We're
is a
gonna have
great
permanent.
point,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
it's done purpose.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Can I just confirm, if I wanted to advocate for F and M swap, is that the meeting going on right now, or is that Thursday?
No, I think there might have been an MTA
It was an
presentation.
MTA
I didn't think there was board members.
because it was presented to elected community specific, and then they're gonna roll it out.
Oh, okay.
So as soon as I get the presentation, they tell me over the next week or so, they have to tweak it a little bit,
Okay.
and then they're gonna send us the presentation.
So it'll
So
be.
once
presented
they
to
do,
the
I will give it to the transportation.
Okay,
But then
will it be an agenda item on the transport committee meeting?
we can advocate that.
Yeah, like
in
obviously,
September, but over
see
the
you.
summer, it'll start, over the summer, it'll start to get rolled out.
right.
And we will make sure that you are fully updated on a regular basis.
I asked because like, I'm happy to get flat, right? Like, I need to met, but I'm thinking about the ability of the community to, you know,
And they're gonna have a whole PR
yeah,
to the community.
cool.
There you go.
Sounds like it's done already.
And they also said
In the shoot.
that
apparently.
once the swap is made, they will have people within the, terminals,
The station.
station.
Ah.
Stop talking about it, I forgot my jacket.
They will have people within the stations,
And you're, is that your?
handing out flyers.
Is that what?
et
Is this
cetera,
yours?
But we're gonna all
No.
get that ahead of
Good
time.
match.
Thank you.
Can I just ask from your experience, why the FM swap? What's the advantage?
It helps clear up the congestion at Queens Plaza with the merge, so they can run more trains on Queens Boulevard. And also selfishly, it gives me access to the Lower East Side on the weekend, because the M doesn't run up here on the weekend, so.
That's the most important.
So it is happening.
Thank you.
Beauty, thank you.
We're
getting stuff
stranded.
done.
Look at
that. You came to a meeting.
We did it.
How you want it. Great, so that is one LIC, guys. Something that I want to say to this committee is, we're doing our best to get all of these issues into the ask. We don't have a ton of power in this. If you think they're not gonna build in Long Island City, you're wrong. But we are asking for what we can ask for, and I have pushed for the MTA to get somewhere involved in talking to us about, their capacity, to grow service, including a Fuller station that serves the community. There are other things that can be done, like a Sunnyside station or, railroad.
They actually promised us that years ago.
I know.
Wasn't that part of those?
And I do think we keep that on. Until somebody said,
I didn't-
community services as well,
Mhm.
about that bus stop.
Yes,
I
yeah.
think we should.
I don't think it ever feels like people.
Yeah, sure.
Someone told me they rejected it.
I forget your
That idea has never gone far because every time they try, it's such a complicated site, they can't build it. And I'm kidding with
You know, it's funny, I was in a meeting about the Queens bus redesign, and I was complaining that there's no bus from Astoria to the South Bronx, right? Not even a single bus, and you can't even go to Randall's Island from Astoria, right? And I was saying, like, you did this whole bus redesign, and there's no actual, you said interborough travel is a priority, and you never connected the South Bronx to Queens, which both are growing population areas. And they said, well, we're doing Penn Access, the three info stations. That's not stopping in Queens. And they're like, oh yeah. Like and the IVX also is not going to the Bronx, even though RPA proposed for it to go to the Bronx because you're doing Penn Access. Like, give us something. And
There used to be a bus of the Story Boulevard to the Bronx. Went right over the front.
an express bus.
I don't know if we.
yeah, it's weird. Like, you know, it's just everything's from Manhattan. You know, you have to go to Manhattan and change and then go in. It's like the jobs at LaGuardia for people in South Bronx would be like, you think it'd be pretty simple to do, but
No, they get the hostess. Hostess.
yeah. So
No,
I don't know. I think we have a good case. Demand some infill service.
Hostess Queens.
No, hostess, the community college in South Bronx.
Oh.
So another LIRR thing is that they've completely cut service at Woodside because they run their train so late that skipping Woodside helps them, meet their on time.
That I used to live in Woodside. That
Yeah.
happened to me all the time.
Yeah.
They would tell me after the train started moving that we're not stopping in Woodside.
So
I'm
they,
so
they actually,
ballistic on
they,
this.
they cut service in Woodside because my family lives on Long Island. So it's actually oftentimes faster for me to go to Grand Central than it is to just take the 7 to Woodside because there's very few trains scheduled at Woodside. Now they've like cut service by like 25%, which makes it hard to get out to Jamaica and change trains.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good to know. We don't get to talk to MTA too much. but
Yeah.
I'll try. All right, so yeah, new business.
I have one issue.
Oh, yes.
Issue is several times I discussed point. One is the affordable housing. Then how to make a lottery. The lottery, no one see how they play the inside lottery. when I made application, all an application, they choose inside, but it is not lottery, it's selection.
Right, it's not a public lottery.
Yeah, this is a lottery, but since the name, this is not the lottery, this is selection. And because I'm getting a bit of food, once it's lottery, I hope I'm getting, maybe I'm gonna win it, but inside I have selection.
Yeah.
And it's totally different than that, didn't they totally revise it, it's like totally done different on the lot.
You have to go on Housing Connect.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're totally different now, like the way they select is very different, and they're, what did they say, they're like decreasing the number, because it used to be a 50% for our district.
Yeah.
You
I
had
think
priority.
I think they kind of said something about it.
Yeah, I feel like but they're
To
lowering
be
it.
careful how it's.
As far as I understand the way it works, right, you make your application and then you're given a random lot number, right? That once they've approved all your documents that you qualify for it, right? You get a randomized number and all the applicants for that apartment, they work through them in number order, right? So everyone gets a random number and they work through the lower numbers first.
Number is low.
Yeah, but then, you know, they work through them and you get an option, right? Like, hey, you're number 7, so do you want this apartment?
All
And
the
then,
transparency, because I don't know, 5 people that were doing whatever they are doing, no one who watching them.
it is a black box, right? We can't actually see why it takes so long and how your number comes up.
It takes so long, because they actually don't look at your paperwork until after you've applied, and so as a lottery resident, actually, it took probably 6 to 8 weeks just to get through all the paperwork. That was after they emailed me, right? So they have to wait.
Yes. I had a number come up for a place like in Brooklyn and I sent all my application stuff in and it was like months and then they rejected it for lack of information. And I told them, I sent everything you said and then they reopened my application and processed it. So it's kind of a mess. But yeah.
Okay. Something to bring up at the full board or, yeah?
I was leaving, unfortunately, that day.
Oh, yeah. You can.
I'm going to join on the maybe, you know, I go to the airport, because I'm going to join the Zoom, how many minutes I can catch.
Right, okay, yeah.
That's all I know.
And I will also say June 18th is a very important date for all of us to attend, because we need a quorum to vote on this plan. June 18th.
Maybe you can, maybe someone can bring that up
In
for you
person.
at the land use.
No,
No, but maybe someone can bring it up for you.
All right, new business. I just got it on the agenda and I want everyone to understand, and Corey already mentioned it earlier, we had sent a letter to the Queens Commissioner, Nicole Garcia, DOT Commissioner, in support of Julie One's Universal Daylighting Bill. Her response and the agency's response is they don't believe in universal daylighting. And that's unfortunate. It's more complicated, but it's not great. There was a recent the DOT has a podcast, New York City DOT has a podcast in which they address this. And as Corey said, yeah, daylighting often works at hardened daylighting that prevents cars from parking in the spot or swinging around the spot very quickly. Works very well, but just designating a spot as no parking does not always make a safer condition. And I know that this Commissioner Garcia had said about the 39th Avenue, the 50th Street turnoff, that they can't change it because now that would make the street less safe than it currently is. So they don't ever want to make a street less safe than it is. And so I can understand they're coming from is that if daylighting makes the street less safe than it currently is, then they haven't done their job. My issue with it is, God, I wish they would just daylight everything and figure out which ones they have to work on to harden. Yeah.
I testified, right, at the same hearing that they were presenting their results. And I mean, the thing I said, I share Riley's disappointment, right? I respect, you know, the outcome of their empirical study, but I wish that they had messaged it differently. I wish they had said, you know, we need more resources to harden more intersections, right? Because the way it sounds is like, you know, they don't want to be asked to do more, right? That's how it lands, I think, among a lot of these communities, which is, you know, not really satisfying when we know that we need to deal with these visibility issues at the corners, and we would be happy for them to just daylight to like harden all these intersections.
Wait, so are you saying that they're essentially saying, we're against this because we can't do it right and it'll make it less safe.
Yes, they did a study where they looked at intersections that are quote unquote naturally daylit, right? So like places that happen to have a bus stop or happen to have a hydrant, right, that bans parking. And their conclusion from a, multi-factor regression was that those intersections where there is no parking, people are, turning sharper, or there's just more crashes, right? There's more crashes that are happening, or the same number, right? One is it's a negligible increase, possibly a decrease in safety. And so because of that, they're opposing Councilman Member One's bill that would require every intersection to be paved. Now, there's other cities like San Francisco
Yeah.
that have done it anyway, and
A lot
we're
of
gonna
cities now.
see what happens with them. But I think it puts us in a frustrating situation where like, we all agree, we have to do something about the poor visibility at our intersections. But, DOT has limited funds and capacity, and so their rollout of hardened daylighting is slow, right? And we were hoping that in the interim, we could at least just make them no parking like the rest of the state, but there's resistance from the DOT. That's kind of where we
And
are.
we're so dense. And we're
You know, but as a driver, if I see that there's a space open and I'm gonna make a right turn, to me, the shortest distance between 2 points, that's straight line.
Yes.
See, I don't do that when I drive, but I love
I
when
don't
there's, I love when
either.
there's daylighting because
You don't-
I can see, so I don't turn into the,
I will
if I
say,
turn into the street. I
If
keep,
they
because
can- if they
if people
continue-
parked at the ends, you can't see to make a turn.
I will
because
say-
They
the
can
Cars are
make
coming.
Those wide turns,
Yeah,
that helps.
no, you're right.
and I'll
But if you're
say,
gonna have it open, I see that.
yeah, right, yeah. And I'll say personally, I think like, there are cheaper treatments that would accomplish the same thing, like just putting like 3 bike parking racks, like just little staple racks. That is like hardened that you can see over the parked bikes. That's super cheap. I don't see why they couldn't just do that as like a cheap way to daylight intersections.
Now you're of imagination.
I don't know. I don't want to go, right? But I'm frustrated too. But I do want to add some, context, right? That
For
they
sure.
didn't just say, we disagree, we don't want it.
Well, my frustration is, so we talked about 39th Avenue, which maybe we're not asking all the way for daylighting there, although it needs it. But so the community board recognizes an issue. We spent a couple of weeks going, that's a real issue, and then we talk about it at the meeting, and then we talk to DOT, and then we formulate a letter, we send a letter. And months later, it's still on the agenda.
Yeah.
And that was for one corner. You know?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so do we have to recognize every dangerous corner? Every time that we cross the street and go, geez, this is not a great place to cross. Then we have to go to the DOT and say, hey, I think we need some hardened daylighting here. It would have been nicer, and the bill is still in play. It is nicer if it just happens across the board. So in our district, our only remedy is to keep recognizing the corners that need to be fixed and either ask for full avenue treatments, like the 39th Avenue thing, Skillman Avenue, like when that happens, then every single corner becomes daylit and safe.
Yeah, maybe we need to batch our asks together.
Yeah, yeah, we're like, rather than one corner, be like, hey, you know what, maybe all of Woodside Avenue needs to be. See some safety treatments. I speak always from, I know I talk about cycling a lot, but from the position of a pedestrian, I walk all over my neighborhood with my children. And the reason I'm on this community board is because it's not safe. On sidewalks to cross, either crossing the street, walking on sidewalks, it's not safe anywhere with that. So I would like to see a safer road.
You would need that only on the turning corner.
No, you need visibility, everyone.
No, you need visibility of, but it's the cars that are turning on that turning corner where it's most dangerous.
Are you talking about specifically 39th Avenue, Woodside Avenue?
No.
Or just,
Anywhere. Like we were talking about 43rd and 43rd, that problem with making that right turn. That's the corner that should have, a wraparound, or a daylight. It's the turn that's dangerous.
I think that, maybe you could make that argument on an intersection of 2 one-way streets. But I think in general, what we're talking about is just like daylighting the corners, right? Like people need to cross the street. I'm tired of having to like lean out, past these cars. It just seems simple. Like it's already state law in New York. It's already the law in lots of other cities. We are the weird ones. We're the ones that like let people park these huge SUVs in a corner where like moms with strollers need to see what's coming around the corner, right? And it's just, I don't know, it's just really frustrating.
I still think
Riley's
it's,
point.
I still argue that it's for everybody, because whether I'm walking, whether I'm riding a bike, or whether I'm riding my car, driving my car, if I can't see around the corner, I risk getting hit.
I wonder-
Obviously, it's worse when you're walking as a pedestrian, if you get hit by a car or a bike or whatever. But even as a car, like when I go down, and turn right on Laurel Hill Boulevard, those cars are flying down. You can't see because the cars are at the edge of the street, and if it's an SUV, God help you, because you can't see anywhere. There's no way you can see
Yeah.
behind that SUV.
And everything is an evolution, everything is adaptation to the current conditions. When
Yeah.
these streets were designed, those vehicles didn't exist.
No.
Cars were much, much
Yeah.
smaller. And so people are always, some people are like, these cars were made or these streets were made for cars, like, well, what kind of cars were they?
Horse and buckets.
They've
Yeah,
gotten wider
horse
and
and
taller
buckets.
faster.
And it's also got more crowded.
It's
Yeah,
gotten more
yeah,
crowded,
yeah.
It's New York, how long have you lived in New York, it's like.
New business, I sent in a draft letter from us regarding the e-bike criminalization, is that?
I haven't sent it out, so don't get me now. Right now. I have to review it and, that's why it's been a busy week. I appreciate you guys. You have
I was
something?
gonna, if I could submit an intersection just for the record for daylight prioritization, this is 23rd and Jackson. There's often a food truck that parks right on the corner, so you can't see cars
wow.
coming 40 miles an hour down
Wow.
Jackson Avenue. It is pretty crazy. So yeah, that would be
Yeah, that's
23rd
bad.
and Jackson. Yeah, so I mean,
Oh,
even if there's something that, can we keep food trucks, at least a couple feet away from the intersection
Yeah.
would be good.
I had an ice cream truck that parked in my elementary school's crosswalk.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta move, please.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, thank you, all good, anybody have any other new business? Good, all right. I think we did it, I'm gonna head to the One LIC working group meeting, and then we have a big meeting on Thursday. And once again, June 18th is the big meeting for the vote.
What is the same again, June 18th?
June 18th, as a public member, I don't know if,
Yeah, because I don't.
yeah. So for board members, it's voting on the One LIC.
Good, I don't have.
It's open to the public, yeah, right, it's a public meeting.
Public meeting.
The water,
It's not sunny side, there's no
That's the
such
best,
thing.
everyone's favorite part of the community board meeting.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. All right, is there a motion to end? And motion to adjourn. Oh, motion to adjourn. Seconded, all in favor? All right, I'll see you, Maya.
Good night,
Thank you very much.
Maya, good night, Mercedes, thank you.
Good night, everybody. Take care. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, good night.